Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into Surah Al-Hijr, the 15th chapter of the Quran. And this is a chapter that really takes you on a journey from the scale of the entire cosmos right down to the very core of what it means to be human, facing us with a choice that defines everything. So, let's get into it.
Right from the very first verse, the surah opens with these letters, Aleph, Lam, Ra, which have a sense of mystery to them. But then it immediately follows up with this powerful declaration. It introduces itself as a clear, self-evident scripture. It's like it's setting the stage, establishing its own authority for everything that's about to come. So, the first big theme that the surah tackles is the message itself, where it comes from, and maybe even more importantly, how it's been preserved.
Now this is huge. It contains this incredible promise. The surah says that this divine message, which it calls the reminder, isn't just left on its own. It's under God's direct protection. It's a guarantee that it will be guarded from being changed or lost over time.
And that promise of preservation, well, it really drives home the idea that this message is timeless. The surah actually points back to a pattern you see throughout history. Other nations in the past who received messengers and then rejected them. So it's making the point that this isn't just for one group of people at one time. It's a reminder that stands for every generation.
Okay, so after establishing the nature of the revealed word, the surah does something really fascinating. It shifts our focus from the text to the world all around us, showing the universe itself as this collection of signs that all point back to a creator.
And it starts on the biggest scale you can possibly imagine. It asks us to just look up at the heavens, decorated with these massive constellations. It's presented as this giant canvas of perfect order and beauty, almost like it's designed for us to look at it and just think. Then, from way out there in the cosmos, it brings our attention right back home, to our own planet, the Earth. It's described as being spread out for us, made stable with mountains, giving us this firm foundation for our lives. And then it gets even more detailed. It points to the forces of nature that we see every day, like the fertilizing winds, the winds that carry pollen and bring the rain clouds. It's connecting those huge cosmic signs directly to the very things that allow life to exist here on Earth. And this is key. The surah makes it clear that none of this is random. This verse tells us that everything, and I mean everything, exists in these divine storehouses and is only sent down in a perfectly calculated, known amount. It paints this picture of a universe that is meticulously balanced and governed down to the smallest detail. So after showing us the signs in the great big universe, the surah zooms all the way in. It gets intensely personal and tells the story of where humanity itself came from.
And listen to this description. Our physical beginning is described with this super specific phrase. It points to this really humble origin from the most basic materials of the earth. Clay that makes a ringing sound when you tap it, that comes from this dark, aged mud. It's a pretty powerful way to remind us that our physical bodies come from the earth. And that idea of humility, it's about to become the central point of the whole story.
And the process is laid out for us in 3 clear stages. First, there's the physical shaping from that clay. Second, that form is perfected, and then a divine spirit is breathed into it. And third, a command is given to the angels to acknowledge this new creation through an act of prostration or bowing down.
And it's that command that immediately kicks off the first great conflict. This is the original act of disobedience, and its consequences ripple all the way down through human history.
The contrast here couldn't be more stark. It's absolute. On one side, you have all the angels, who obey the command instantly. But then there's this one figure, Iblis, who you might know as Satan, and he just flat out refuses.
And right here, we get his reason. And what's amazing is that his rebellion isn't some deep theological debate. No, it's pure arrogance. He looks at humanity's humble origin from mud and clay and sees it as a sign of being inferior. He just thinks he's better. So the consequence for that act of pride is swift and it is severe. He's cast out from the divine presence, and he's put under a curse that's going to last until the final day of judgment.
But in response, Iblis makes this really chilling vow. He basically asks for time until that final day, and he dedicates his entire existence to one single goal: to make disobedience look attractive and beautiful to human beings, so he can lead them down the wrong path. But even as he makes this vow, he admits something huge. He says he will have no power over God's chosen, sincere servants.
So right there at the very beginning of the story, this choice, to obey with humility or to rebel with arrogance, it sets up the 2 main paths that are available to all of humanity.
and each path has a very different final destination.
The surah is super clear about these two groups. On one path, you have the misguided. Those are the ones who follow the temptations of Iblis. And on the other path, you have the sincere servants, the ones who stay devoted to God and are actually protected from Iblis's influence.
And their ultimate outcomes are described as total opposites. For the righteous, the promise is a state of complete peace and security in gardens with flowing springs. For the misguided, hellfire is their promised meeting place. A pretty stark contrast. And then, the surah gives us this powerful statement that just holds two massive realities in perfect balance. On the one hand, it's a message of incredible hope, that God is, at his core, the forgiving, the merciful. But at the same time, it's a very serious warning that accountability is real and his punishment is severe. It perfectly captures that tension between boundless mercy and ultimate justice. So in the end, this ancient story lays out a timeless choice for us: humility versus arrogance, sincerity versus temptation. And it really just leaves us with a question to think about. How does this fundamental story, this choice, play out not just in history books, but in our own world and in our own lives right now?